Hello everyone, welcome back to the KMTRADERS channel. So this is the full market analysis volume 99, just giving you an insight of what we are thinking that's going to happen next week, and also compare our analysis from last video as well. So we are going to look at gold. So what we ended up looking into for this week for gold was a potential move towards the upside. So this was based on the fact that if we could stay above 1760, so this barrier here, if we find a rejection point from here, we could be ending up price, or we could expect price to push up higher to potentially into the 1900s. But I'm also being aware from the fact that there is this strong bearish pressure coming in. So this is why we had a second scenario, and that is if price was able to break lower, we could be ending up waiting for a retest trade. So essentially, if we break this barrier, we should be ending up seeing a potential move towards the downside and further downside movement. And this is going to be an interesting week for gold, because we'll either know if we're going to push up higher or if we're going to end up continuing to push lower. So it's just going to be this battle here between the bears and the bulls, obviously. So we just need to sit tight and wait for price to do its thing. So I think my computer just froze. So yeah, so what we've seen basically from last week was that, price is continuing to push lower and lower. The reason why I'm thinking price may potentially swing towards the upside is potentially because of how price is stalling around the 1760 area. So as we can see, price is slowing down. So this could influence price to essentially reverse up. So again, it really depends if this 1760 level can hold, and we can go from there really. So they're the two biases that we have for gold. So for EURUSD, what we looked at last time was the possibility of price rising towards the upside. As we can see, price has pretty much continue to push higher, but we've had a lot of price moves pushing up and down. So there is a lot of questionability in this week where price was most likely going to head. Price wasn't really convinced to push in either directions, but essentially we've got these two maps out here. So the maps that we've got drawn out here is that if we get a reversal to the downside, that could break the low, so into 1.12. We could expect a reversal to the upside then, but for now, what I'm likely going to see is, or I am personally anticipating, is for price to probably make one more dip, respect the 1.2 low, and for price to continue to push up higher. So I'm just going to move this across, because I think what we drew from last week was an alternative for price to move. Oh no, that shouldn't be there. But as we know, we're potentially quite bullish on this, and we're just waiting for price to kind of shift in our favor towards the upside. So we can see that there's a lot of bullish pressure coming in, and again, we're waiting for that long-term bullish move towards the upside. So this week we could expect price to drop lower, and potentially, find some manipulation point around 1.12. We may find that buying point at 1.25. Sorry, 1.125. We could expect price to rally and continue to push up higher. So for now, I'm just kind of looking in for some buying moves. I'm not really interested in taking some sell moves, only if it's going to be a counter move, then maybe. But for now, mainly looking for buys for now. So taking a look at NZDUSD. So what I was originally anticipating is that price was going to give us some buying moves towards the upside. I think I was anticipating that there is this possibility of price shifting, but we didn't really see any pressure or any buy side pressure through the week. But as we can see, as we broke through the 0.68 level, we were looking for more continuations lower. So we can see that this was the there was a pullback here, and price was able to push lower. So now what we could potentially see is this potential reversal. So if we grab the RSI, there is slight divergence forming. So this is where the peaks and the bottoms and the troughs are different towards price action. So you can see that kind of makes sense that there's a divergence forming there. So that's essentially what I'm anticipating, but whether the price continues to push lower or lower, that's another story. So we could potentially look for some of those sells, and keep in mind that yes, that price may want to continue to push lower. So I will be, keeping an eye on sells, but we'll also be mindful that there could be a potential turnaround, and if so, price could essentially lead up into this area of the box here, so 0.69, or we could end up seeing some sort of bullish pressure coming soon because we've just been bearish all this way. So I believe at some point price needs to kind of return and make some kind of pullback at least. Okay, so moving on to AUDUSD, it's a similar story. We can see that we've had that breakthrough. I was looking at the start of the week that we could find some rejection and some reversals here, but this scenario never really played out. As we can see, price action completely fell through this candle here, and convinced by this break of structure here was a full closure candle breaking that 0.71 level. So we can go ahead and get rid of this right now. We can use this marker, actually we can keep that zone in. We can get rid of the 0.71 level. So now that we saw price break the low, what is the potential for this week? So we can see that we're essentially pushing lower, and the second scenario was that if we did get that break lower, we'll wait for a retest of some sort and then continuate that low. So that's essentially what I'll be doing. So if we just do something like this, this would insinuate that price is going to continue to push lower. The other alternative scenario that I could think of right now is that if price immediately starts a reverse, we could get price to rally short term towards the upside. So that's if price breaks the 0.715 level and then continuate higher. That's essentially the masking point, or kind of the intentional point where price could break this downtrend, that we have to be mindful of, but also be careful that a break of the downtrend could also insinuate that there's a fake out. So again, you need to match it up with price action. So that's why I'm looking into 0.72 to 0.715. So really this zone, I might need to push it up a little bit higher, or something like this zone here. If we get a break above here, we could wait for a retest and continuate those buys. So by all means necessary, we don't need to rush into any sells or any immediate buys. We just need to wait and stay patient. If we check the RSI, there may be some divergence. So there is a slight divergence here. Well, it looks quite clear, but here we can see price descending lower, and we can see that the troughs on the RSI are ascending higher. So pretty much some sort of awareness or something just to keep in mind, that we could expect some sort of further push or reversal soon, whether it's this week or next week. That's totally up to the market to decide, and just be ready to anticipate that move. Okay, so looking into USDJPY, so we finally found that the the 113 level had completely broken, so we've had price to break through. We found some rejection levels here. So what we are looking at now, as we failed to find that rejection from this level, we're potentially looking now for those continuations lower and that retest. So this would be price pushing lower. So all we need to do now is just wait for retest in price action. So price may well come up a little bit. It may come up a little bit further higher. I may just leave it as that, just to make the annotations a little easier. But with that being said, we could also expect a short-term push towards the upside, and that's where we could look at some counter trade buys. And again, that's only if you're comfortable taking those trades. But in the long run, we are potentially looking for some sell-off opportunities. But I think for this week, there is this possibility that we could recover all of this downside move and this choppy behavior. Maybe we break lower and continue, or maybe we break lower and then reverse, and maybe this scenario pans out for us. We'll have to see, but that's some of the situations that I'm well, a scenario that I'm looking at. And I think because this bearish move is really strong, I hardly will see any likely ability that price will be able to push up higher. But in the case that we do, and obviously we don't really necessarily 100% guarantee that market is moving in one way, but we always like to look at the alternatives, is that if price does manage to break above this high, there is going to be a potential that price is most likely going to continue higher. So just keep that in mind, but most likely I'm focusing on this scenario for now, just because of how price is, really looking like it's bearish and, continuously pushing lower. So moving on to CADJPY. So essentially what I was anticipating was, a bit of a reversal towards the upside. We can see that price, technically did pull back here. It made a push lower. So again, there was some sort of truth to what we spoke about last week. So what I'm looking at now for this week is that we're still looking for this reversal towards the upside, but not necessarily sure if it's going to come anytime soon, whether it's this week or next week. But what we can be sure of is that right now price is pushing lower, so we can look for those continuations lower. So maybe do something like so, get rid of that one. So essentially we could anticipate a small pullback, and in that sense we look for some sort of retest here around the 88.5 level and then see that continuations lower. I'm not entirely sure what our levels are going to be, but we're just going to take it as it comes. But we need to be mindful that we are looking for this long-term perspective shift towards the upside. So if we start to see a strong reversal, maybe we start to see the reversal here and start to see that rally up, then we're going to be looking at those buys. Okay, so really I'm just looking at this here. So if we start to break this could be a cautionary kind of level, kind of looking at an 89 on the flat, 89 flat. So if we start to see any breaks of structure here, there could be a insinuated problem that price is not likely going to continue to drop lower. We're probably going to push up higher, and again it really depends if that's strong, if the momentum is strong. Okay, so that's the bias that we've got for CAD. So looking at EJ, we can see prices just moving momentarily towards the side, not really doing anything too much, but essentially what we're anticipating is pretty much a reversal and those continuations higher. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because that drawing was bad, but essentially we're just waiting for price to kind of rally up towards the upside and continue higher. The other thing that we could look at is the other thing that we can look into is that just understand where price is right now. So that is basically seeing that price is ultimately pushing lower and lower. So in theory we could expect, and it would be perfectly valid, to just wait for a little pullback before a continuation lower, and just taking a small trade like that could be an influence towards the market. An influence to take a trade towards the downside and waiting for price to really show the intention that price wants to reverse. And if we find that reversal point, let's just say price does push lower, like so in the second scenario, there could be an opportunity for some buying opportunities. There could be that opportunity if we get that reversal though, and we can expect a potential pullback in that sense. Then if we get that pullback, that's really where we can anticipate those buys. Okay, so moving on to AUDJPY. So this level at 79 was a key point for me. I don't think we actually discussed if we broke lower, yeah, so what we spoke about last week was this this potential reversal towards the upside, and I think now that we are pushing lower, there is this possibility that we could be continuing lower, or continuing to push lower. Sorry, I'm just getting rid of all these drawings, but I am also still keeping in mind that price may want to reverse. So now that we've broken lower, we could expect a pullback, and then continuation lower. So I'm not going to, be oblivious or be blinded by that, by what current price action is doing, but I'm also keeping in mind of the long-term potential that price may want to reverse at some point. So whether that we get, this area here between 79 and 78, where we find a reversal, then fair enough. But essentially, we're just waiting for, or we're just keeping in mind and anticipating that if price wants to reverse, that this could be the start of the new long-term trend. Because we, as you know, we have been falling for quite a long time. So since October, mid-October, it's almost been a whole month and a bit. So we could expect some kind of pullback on the higher time frames. So with the with that being said, we could expect this scenario to play out, and then later down the week, or maybe in a few weeks time or a few days times after, we could expect a reversal shift towards the upside, and that's where we could expect some good price action moves to kick in. So maybe that bullish pressure that we're looking for. But again, this reversal point may not necessarily be here. It could be all the way down here. It really just depends where price wants to reverse from, and so that's why it's important to kind of stay vigilant and see where price is going. So USDCHF. So what I was expecting here was just some sort of pullback. I think that we could still expect a deeper pullback. This is not necessarily anything interesting for me. I never saw this as a point of, a point that we could expect price to, sell from. What I was looking for, especially as an NFP, I thought that price would have rallied towards 93. Or maybe 93.5 at least, maybe, but we're kind of still dropping lower. So maybe we could be pushing lower and then have that pullback. Who knows? But we're just going to have to sit back and stay patient with it. But all I know is that we're looking for maybe a sell-off opportunity. But in theory, we're trying to see if we can take a buy and rally it back into 94. So with that kind of scenario being said, another scenario that could happen is that we just get a break lower and then start to rally and push higher. So essentially, these are the only two things I can think of right now. We do have a third scenario that we drew out last week. Let me just draw this in. So basically, it's this understanding that the 91 level, if this will hold, if we get a break here, I think it will be significant. Following off this low and how it respected it, if we get that break lower, so maybe like this, we could potentially see more further downside moves. Okay, so as we are coming close to it, it's worth mentioning just in case, but I do see this as, a third option if price does manage to break this 91 barrier. Okay, so let's see what happens for USDCHF and USD just in general. Okay, so finally coming to our last pair for this video is USDCAD. So essentially what I was looking for was pretty much a deeper correction and didn't really anticipate this being the low. I was looking for more 127, 1.27, but this would have been a very nice capture and nice reversal up towards the upside. So if you did manage to get involved with that, that would have been a nice trade. But now that that's happened and that scenario's worked out, what essentially I'm looking for now is this reversal and a shift towards the downside. I think it will be a very good opportunity for price to pretty much give us a swing lower. So yeah, I am anticipating that, but whether it happens anytime soon, that's totally up to the market. So we could in theory just expect that price may continue to push up higher, unless we start to get that strong bearish pressure. So right now we technically don't have any bearish pressure kicking in. We're technically still stepping up, so any buying situations are still worth it, or still technically valid in my eyes. But I am just being I'm just being aware that price may want to reverse down in the future, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see that big drop off coming into play. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much what we've got for this week. I know we're heading into December, so I know that there are a lot of traders that take a lot of time off around this period just because of activity slowing down. Again, I personally think you should just listen to yourself and do anything in accordance to you know, what you should do. I guess if you feel like you need to do a bit more testing, a bit more back testing, or maybe just look at some more strategies, December is your perfect time, because December should be all about improving as much as you can. Even myself, I'm still looking at advancing myself and looking at different avenues in my trading and trying to take it a step further for you guys, also for you guys and also for myself. But yeah, so as you know, I had an NFP this week. December is pretty much Christmas time and New Year's Eve. So again, feel free to, or don't feel bad, you know, taking some time off, because I know a lot of people do. But use this period of time eventually to take some time off and just kind of reflect on your year. So I do hope this video helps. That little bit of wisdom at the end, but I guess, you know, if it helps, it helps. It may get through to you. And if you're still in that struggling position, don't worry. 2022 is going to be filled with a lot more opportunities, and again, the market is full of them. So every single day, you just need to be in that right mind, and you know, eventually it will click for you, and hopefully it does very soon. So if you did get any value from this video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you guys all in our next week's video. Thank you all, and see you soon.